2019, begin at oral argument.
All right, folks. Thank you all for coming. We do have one primary purpose and one secondary purpose for today. And the first is kind of a cleanup from last year. And Chad, feel free to interrupt me. And that is looking at our speech and language therapists. And now that they're doing Medicaid billing and their work routine has changed, we need to discuss the impact of that and what kind of financial adjustments we can make. And I see if we can get that done today, and that'll be as a memorandum of understanding. And then we can talk about some of the insurance issues. Was there anything else you wanted to add, Chad?
No, essentially right on track with what I was thinking. Like I said, picking up with a few loose ends from last year. Now that we have recognized some additional Medicaid, so it's definitely something to discuss. This being our first session, probably a little early on some topics, but like you said, the two triggers that would make it early is one, to get back so we can take care of SLPs as soon as possible and make some adjustments. And also with scheduling it, following last insurance committee, we want to make sure, one of the historical problems that we addressed in last session was we were way too close to open enrollment or sometimes past before insurance was properly addressed. So in efforts to make sure that we've got plenty of time between a recommendation of anytime either recommendation of increased premiums or decreased benefit occurs, that we have to come together and discuss that and bargain the impact. So while the last committee meeting did not yield a recommendation, we've got an upcoming meeting on March 6th that we're going to be looking and reviewing at some of the findings that are brought forth by our brokerage. So, we don't know what could come out of that, but hopefully some good things. I was very encouraged by that meeting. Not necessarily exciting and thrilled like anyone in the room.
I was excited and thrilled.
But
I love talking
we're talking insurance, but encouraged in the fact that we're all at the table willing to try and figure out solutions to some of our insurance woes and make sure it has the least amount of impact on our group members as possible. So at the end, when we talk about some dates like we usually do, we can discuss kind of what the dates look like following that March 6th. And in case we do need to come together, because we have a 10-day contracted window that within those 10 days, we have to get to the table and at least start some discussion, which you guys all know that. Just kicking off, being that it's our first time coming together, really encouraged by the relationship that we built last year and going through that long process of open book and really fine-toothing the contract. Everybody here knows we spent a lot of time together last year. Each year presents a new set of challenges, and I think we're going to find a lot of those are common notions that we all have. Obviously across the state, we've got new governor, new commissioner, new leadership all over the place. Probably some lingering philosophies and some new ones that are going to come into play. And I think we've got a real unpredictable atmosphere at this point. But one thing I'm hopeful is that we're going to focus on Lake County and the kids and our educators here, making sure our educational colleagues are taken care of. I was very encouraged at the board meeting, last board meeting we had, school board, Stewart and representing LCEA, kind of stood up and gave some vision for the coming year just from where you guys are on board with initiative, both your own and FEA's, and there are definitely some things in there that I think resonate with everyone, and that's really encouraging because I think too many times lines get drawn where we probably all have some common concerns and that resonate with everybody, that we can focus on to improve things here. Protecting local control is a big one that you mentioned, that is all
Yep.
valid. So public education, you guys know we're still under microscope. We're in full competition, you know, for students, for dollars, for everything. So, it's like I said last year, we're in this thing together, and we need to make sure we're looking out for everybody in the family. So less dysfunction, the better, and this group has really come together and functioned well.
And let me add in, one of the things that we're looking at as part of our bargaining team, we've done interest-based bargaining, and now we're kind of going to be looking at student-based bargaining. What's good for the student, what's good for the classroom, is typically what's good for teachers, and vice versa. So there may be points where, like today, for principals you don't recognize, probably your speech and language therapist is somewhere behind us. So interested in this discussion. As we get into other discussions, we will be bringing in members of the community who can listen in when we talk about student-centered bargaining. So just wanted to let you know, if you don't recognize your speech therapist, you can introduce yourself later. And then I'm going to say shame on you.
I think that's an excellent approach, and I think we can all rally around anything that's best for the students. Because, like you said, best for the students, likely best for the teachers and all parties involved. So executive session was right before the last board meeting, and my primary objective coming together with executive session was to talk to them about, you know, first and foremost, what we can do with our SLPs and kind of the state of things and where we're at. On behalf of them, superintendent, and everyone else who received correspondence from all of you guys and friends, it honestly is a good learning experience. They were appreciative to learn more about, you know, a group of folks that they employ every day working hard in the schools that, you know, sometimes fly under the radar because you guys are crushing it all day long, one kid to another, working on paperwork, whatever the demands are, you're meeting it, and a lot of times you're doing that very quietly. So I can appreciate you guys advocating for yourselves and wanting to get in line with more of what's happening around us as far as SLPs go. You know, you guys need to be treated well, and if we're going to remain competitive, that's something that we've got to make sure happens for the best interest of our kids. So thank you, Charlene, for your expertise in the area, and thank all you guys for adding into the conversation. You know, I dug a little bit with all the information you guys provided us. It was great, which encouraged me to dig in a little bit further and look into, you know, just look deeper into some of the sources that you guys were drawing your information from. And I found it to be very interesting, and you know how different states are handling the advocacy that's coming from you guys groups. So Florida I found to be a little bit unique, where a lot of the groups were
really?
Where a lot of the groups were appealing, states were appealing directly to their state legislators, and they were intervening, and it seemed to where that was where a lot of the progress was happening in other states. It appears Florida, obviously, by the wide range of ways SLPs are addressed in this state, it's all over the place. That I found that to be really interesting. You know, where our Medicaid billing, we talked about, you know, of the therapies that are being billed for, upwards to 85% of the therapies that are billed for Medicaid are SLP services. You know, and what we come to understand from coming to you guys, a meeting with you, and the information you shared, and then our own research was, and we got a multifaceted situation here. I think the one that stands out as number one was a lack of a supplement, that where SLPs were being supplemented around us, and where there are some, we just were not addressing on the same playing field as some other districts. The heavy caseloads came into play. You know, that's kind of one of those things that's kind of hard to find. I think we can all agree the caseloads are high, and that but when you look at someone who might be a little high, just looking at a number, somebody who looks a lot high, that doesn't necessarily correspond, because not all caseloads are created equal. So I know your students carry a variety of, you know, they'll call it individual education plan for nothing. There's a lot of individuals with a lot of unique needs that take up a lot more time than others. So, and then on top of that, there's an undercurrent of things that we probed on as far as you know, things that might not necessarily be addressed at a bargaining table, but how can we support you guys better, and what kind of talks can I have as the chief of staff for the district on behalf of the superintendent with ESC to make sure that you've got the technology tools and resources available to you. If there's different programs that need to be made available on a wider scale to make you guys' daily life go smoother or manage your caseload better. Those are all things that are interesting in the background of, as we've attacked this issue. So I'm getting there, I promise. Considerations and formation of the MOU, comparison with other districts. You know, it was anywhere from $0 to $6,000. You know, it's a little bit all over the place. Majority of the folks are employing their own. I've only found one district that's really contracting out fully. Marion, I think it happens to be a neighbor, but and I'm not exactly, I didn't pull too hard on what their why they do that, but I was more interested. Okay.
Yes, because they want to medicate
Okay.
So there's one theory. Maybe they'll come work for us. And you know, and then looking at it, you know, you've got some of our neighbors that offer little or nothing, and then you got folks to the south of us in Polk that offer like a $5,000 stipend. So it's kind of all over the place when you look across the state. When you venture outside the Florida, it's the same things, it's all over. So other things we, you know, there are certain things we did recognize, and that's responsibilities that you guys voiced, and you guys were the ones that really helped educate us on that and your daily duties. The associated costs that exist with that are with the Medicaid billing program now that we put it in play, which is our program manager, which includes benefit salary and a small budget there. The Civic Solutions contract that's paid. And then, you know, do recognize the fact that, like other instructional employees, you guys receive master's supplements. We do consider you guys in the critical shortage area.
No, new folks don't get master supplements.
So you're telling me that?
I do that.
Yes, they get a master supplement, and not, but
assuming they do.
it's in field also. So not only they,
Okay.
so not only they get their master supplement, they get an additional by that's with by being assigned to students that are within their field and their schedule. So also,
I'm sorry.
also critical shortage. You guys are included in that group, and you know, and I'm not getting into Title I and VA schools, but if you happen to be there, you do receive some additional money for that. So all that being said, I didn't print up 30 different copies of the MOU. I have a draft here that I'll pass around to Mr. Platt, and I'll read it for the folks that are here. The board and LCEA recognize the need to recruit and retain highly qualified speech-language pathologists, SLP professionals. Upon signing this MOU, all SLP professionals working directly for the district will be provided an additional supplement based on their level of qualification as listed below. The supplement will be retroactive to July 1st, 2018. Any SLP that holds a Certificate of Clinical Competence, CCC-SLP, will receive an annual $3,000 supplement. Any SLP that earns their CCC during the course of the school year will receive a prorated amount based on the effective date of the certification. Any SLP without CCC but with a master's degree and grandfathered bachelor's degree will receive an annual $500 supplement. The above amounts will be prorated for SLPs in their positions for less than the full school year. It is understood by both parties that upon ratification on the 2019-20 collective bargaining agreement between the school board of Lake County and LCEA, the supplements and guiding language established by this agreement will be added to the differentiated pay schedule. So essentially, while the MOU would run this for this year, when we come back to full bargaining to finish up contract this year, we're agreeing at this juncture that we would include that agreement in the full agreement.
Okay. Well, go ahead, because I personally would want to see the supplement for the grandfathered folks in master more than $500, considering they're doing the Medicaid billing as well. Although
I agree. I think that, and I'm not sure, and Rafa's not here right now, I don't believe bachelor's level funding for those people who are grandfathered in is the same as the master's level. I know the therapists that have their masters that don't have their C's, they are still bringing in that same amount of money, Medicaid money.
because they're eligible for billing.
Right, right, because that is the standard for the Department of Education.
I think in looking at this, we want to make sure that there was something that went forward for everyone taking on some additional responsibilities, but the primary amount isn't necessarily tied directly to how much an individual is billing for. But the C's supplement is for the people that have put forth the effort to go through all of those, that rigorous program that's described in testing and upkeep and professional development, and then continuing their education. So that's more of what the viewpoint of myself and the board was as far as the $3,000 supplement for the C's.
And I do appreciate that recognition.
And here's the thing: every dollar that which not all have been recognized, we're still in the process of getting there. Is going to be able to be contributed directly to the individual who's billing for those services. It's not how we fund any other position in the district. What I think we've got to understand is we've also got the competing need there of the heavy caseloads, where we're going to have to bring additional people on in order to truly, when those caseloads, which I don't even want to say when they reach unbearable, because I know you guys are busting your hump right now. So, and I do think there's going to be some long-term effects that come from what I heard from all parties involved was, look, from a caseload standpoint, the consistency with the kids of maintaining the same SLPs that are working for the district is going inherently to lower some caseload. It's a small bit, I feel like. I don't think anybody's thinking it's large scale, but the fact that you guys will be able to have more quality time with your students and actually be able to discharge them from the program at an appropriate timing.
The caseloads are determined by a combination of need and the allocation schedule. Don't we have a maximum caseload on the allocation schedule for speech and language therapists?
You could probably speak to that better than me. I don't believe so.
Allocation is 1 to 70, but in order to earn that unlike a classroom, in order to earn the second SLP, you have to have a full 140.
My point is exactly that we've got other issues to address,
So
and
maybe we can look at making recommendations on the allocation schedule as well.
well, I think we definitely need to look deeper into how we're staffing. Absolutely, not staffing kids, but staffing SLPs. So,
And again, I want to say, if we don't have people to hire to attract them here, additional allocations doesn't going to do us any good.
And
It's a
so,
catch-22.
and I just want to kind of clarify, I guess. So the MOU right now basically is stating in a nutshell, those with Cs would receive a $3,000 supplement. Those without Cs basically would receive the $500.
correct.
Whether they're master's, bachelor, whatever, it's
Correct.
$500. Okay.
Is there any room for movement there?
You guys, and then I'm trying to get the board,
I know.
I'm taking a new, I have to remind them that we're kind of in a new type of relationship. You guys know my style is that we can probably shift funds around, but I don't want to play games with y'all and say, and hold back money. So, I mean, if there's a desire to shift some of this around, I can try to shift that around, but as of right now, this is what we're comfortable with as far as what we've incurred for Medicaid billing and what we're forecasting out. So as of this time and this year, this is the amount that we're willing to bring forward.
What is the average that therapists are billing Medicaid per month up to this point?
That the average of
That monthly income?
the monthly income, I'm not sure we can lay it on a firm average now. I can look at your numbers, but like, I want the most recent numbers, a good example. So we just got the billing cycle in, or we just got the disbursement recently for the most recent. However, it took into December and a little bit of January. So it made very little impact on the bottom line number. So I told Robin, she goes, I haven't had a chance to form that into a report yet. I said, look, I get it. The people that I'm going to be talking to the board, they understand the fact that there's going to be ebbs and flows in this. If it's not going to change the bottom line number, I'm not concerned. Whereas then you get into a month like October, boom. I mean, that's a lot of billing that's going to go on 20 days in that cycle. So I'm not real comfortable with providing an average. I mean, I can go back and look and provide an average, but I can't say that I have a whole lot of faith and that's what it's going to be steady, up or down.
Right, and we have never looked at that when we have had our monthly meetings, and Robin has come to tell us how we've done. It's been more a compilation of the amount of services provided to students instead of a dollar amount, and that's been intentional.
You want a caucus, if I could have a caucus, please, I'd appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah, there's some parts in this that may be good, but overall, I don't think you're quite there yet. One of the things that we talked about in one of our past sessions, we looked at maybe moving or adapting the psychologist pay schedule because of the similarities in background and requirements. So we may need to look at developing a pay schedule for speech and language therapists. We may need to look at adjusting the supplements amount. We may need to look at some other aspects. But, I mean, I think you're recognizing that speech and language therapists are doing they have the largest caseloads of anywhere in the state. They're not only doing evaluations, they're evaluating, they're providing therapy, and OTs, PTs don't have to necessarily do all of that. So I think it's a recognition that we're not doing enough for therapists, but I'd like to see what else maybe we can come up with. Charlie, you need to add to that? Ben, do you have anything to add to that? Okay. So we'd be interested in seeing other options looked at. If you like, we can come up and work on a pay structure right now, given their experience, duties, and what they're doing. Or you can come back with a sample and then we can work from there. So I recognize this is a step. It's a recognition that we do need to do something for our therapists, but I don't think it's quite to the point where we can accept it.
Okay.
All right?
I can tell you, well, no, not yet. I can tell you that, you know, it's going to be a couple things. It's going to be difficult to compare classes of different employees that are doing different jobs. I think they all operate under different job descriptions, different duties, and different ways. And one of the wonderful benefits of my job is I get to hear from everyone, whether it be from teachers to administrators to custodians to all therapists to the different classes that are out there. So I think it's difficult to compare those classes and then try and run compensation in a directly comparable way. I think you also face challenges of when you get into a new pay schedule. We're getting into looking at pulling samples and looking at some things, because it wasn't something I just ignored totally, but moving over to the exact psychologist schedule was absolutely unaffordable, and there's no revenue to support that movement. Designing a pay schedule that is specific to SLPs, not something that I found to be commonly done, but you're going to run into some issues there where pay is still going to be based on pay for performance, and they're still considered instructional, and that's that. That's going to present a tremendous amount of challenges from a saying within statute. The other option, looked at is there were very few, but I found a couple that had them actually on a professional managerial scale, which at that point removes them out of you guys' unit. And I'm not sure how they accomplish that. I'm sure there's a mechanism, but I'd be interested to see how someone went about that process.
And then we also have the artificial 5-year cap for bringing in experience for our speech and language therapists, which it limits their income even more. Because I know there was a reason for it, for bringing in non-related experience, but a speech and language therapist, any experience is related to what they're doing. So that artificial cap, I think, needs to go away in this case as well.
Michelle, can you speak to experience training at all?
I would need to look at the contract and talk to the people that work that every day. I don't work that every day, so I would need to look at the contract and understand what you mean by artificial.
Yeah,
Because it says they can only bring in 5 years of experience.
what page are you on?
Yeah, for social workers, speech language therapists, go to what page, I just remember that being in here and questioning it before.
Okay. Okay, it's at the top of page 40.
Ian, what's the exact wording?
Psychologists, social workers, and speech language pathologists will be given up to 5 years salary credit for similar or related work in private hospital or clinical settings. The experience must be properly verified.
But you're just saying that, for instance, if you have someone that's coming in with 10 years experience that is capped at 5, and that's the issue that you guys are seeing?
Yes.
That's one of the issues, yeah.
One of the issues in related to this, or just as a whole?
Well, it's related to this as well, because it's limiting income, limiting their salary.
It's limiting, it is limiting private hospital or clinical settings. It's not limiting if they work. They aren't limited to bringing in a total of 5 years previous experience. You agree to that, correct?
That's not the interpretation that I've had some of the folks tell me.
Because if they work in a school setting, isn't that apart from the 5 years?
I've had to argue that working in a state facility was not education experience. Speech and language therapy, if you're working on articulation, it doesn't matter whether the person's in private rehab or a third grader. It's still the same techniques.
I'd like to look at individuals and see if there's an issue. I'd like to look at individuals and see if we haven't interpreted something incorrectly. We're happy to look at it. So if anyone has a question, Michelle Hoppenstead, email me. I'm serious. I want you to email me, and we will look at your previous experience if you have a question about that, because we do want to get that right.
Well, that's the bill. So yeah, I think we're on the right track, but we're not at the right place yet.
Okay, well, and I'm willing to go back and look at it. I'm just, like I said before, being totally honest, I'm not real confident in additional revenue that can be dedicated to this. So, but I'm always willing to go back and look. I'm always willing to go back and
Go back and discuss. Sure.
explore. Okay.
Yes, something?
No, I'm trying to think. I believe that $500 would be applicable to 8 therapists.
Come again?
There are 8 therapists that I think that would be the ones qualifying for that $500.
Okay.
So if that were increased, and I'm not saying this is acceptable, I'm just saying if that were increased to 1,000, that's 500 times those 8 therapists.
Because their work expectations, because they're grandfathered in for billing, would still be the same, right?
Right. Right.
The billing's the same, whether they have a grandfather, whether the
So
grandfather.
the time it takes to do billing and
Right.
is going to be there, so that somehow there needs to be a fair adjustment for their time and change in work schedule.
How many do you estimate have the Cs that will get the 3,000?
Let me answer that just a minute.
Sure, no problem.
And even then, if that could be looked at with a higher amount,
Do you guys feel like there would be do
Just one.
and this you might have to get help from the crowd, but the folks that do not have Cs, do you feel like people choose to get that because it's their direction and they made that choice, and if they have it, they're going to have it, and the ones who've chosen not to just have chosen not to because they don't desire to take on the additional whatever hoops there and work? Or do you feel like there are barriers that keep the people that do not have their Cs from going ahead and moving to get their Cs?
well,
They have to
that's what I was
go
gonna
ahead and
talk
get their masters.
I know that.
That is required. So to get their Cs on top of that, they're looking at a year internship where they don't get paid.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. And
National process.
their national test. So that question might be better directed to them as far as to those that don't.
And I'm fully okay if anybody wants to speak.
Can I have Karen
I will.
speak? Okay.
I'm Tony Rena. I work at Canary High School with your wife. I work at Canary Middle and Matador High School. I had 4 schools originally, but now I only have 3. I have my educational specialist degree, which I chose to get thinking that I was moving on to getting a doctorate degree. Life happened, sickness and family happened. I didn't get my doctorate degree, and then it was too late to go back and get my C's. But the only thing I did not do was I did my clinical fellowship year, but I didn't take the test because I was working on my doctorate. And then it just switched to an educational specialist.
Okay.
And I have over 30 years here.
So I guess my thought is.
You have other questions? I'm sure they'll.
I'm thinking in terms of if there was some way to incentivize in the future for folks that do not have their Cs to pursue their Cs. Is that something that will be interesting to you guys, or is there even an appetite for that type of thing?
I don't think there's really anything we can do about that. It's very competitive to get in graduate school. There's only so many programs that have a graduate program in speech language pathology or communication sciences and disorders. So you're usually competing against hundreds of people for just like 20 slots because that's all they can stand to supervise. So while that would be nice, like the chances of getting in are slim because it's competitive, so there's nothing that would really make somebody, either you got in or you didn't. It's
So
hard to
it
get
would be
in.
a small impact.
It would be like probably no impact.
So you're saying that if you do not, so you have to re-enroll in a graduate, because you have your master's, correct?
That's a risk you run if you do a bachelor's. If you do a bachelor's and you don't get accepted to graduate school for master's, then maybe you might go into special education, or maybe you can find somewhere you can work with just your bachelor's. But those places are few and far between because they won't let you build private insurance, and a lot of states will even let you go Medicaid if you don't have the master's and the C's.
But you don't automatically get your Cs if you obtain your master's.
Okay.
So what I'm talking about, and
Yeah, you have to pass
I'm
the
clear.
national exam, and
But-
you have to do a year of being supervised.
so what I'm saying is, for the folks that have masters, is it worthwhile to incentivize those folks to move from their masters to obtain their Cs?
I have my Cs. My name
Okay.
is Karen Woody. I work at Eustis Middle and Eustis High. I have my Cs, and I know that I almost did not get them because my praxis was running out. You have a specific amount of time once you've taken your praxis to get your Cs, and 5 years, and if you don't take it within 5 years, then you are eligible for the Cs. I'll tell you, the praxis is not an easy test. It is one of the hardest things ever, and so for somebody to go back after they've been out of college or graduate school for so many years to test on, 50,000 things, things that we don't do on a daily basis, to test on that, it would be very hard, and it's very expensive. It's a $250
Well,
test.
and I remember correctly, you're capped at the number of times you can take that,
Yes.
correct? That's 3? Yeah, like medical. Okay, yes, sir?
I represent the 5 people who still have the bachelor's degrees and were grandfathered in. When I went to school, if you were going to be a public school speech therapist, you got a bachelor's of science degree. I had no intentions of going into the hospitals. I had no intentions of going into private practice. I wanted to be a public school speech therapist, which I became. At one point, they changed the qualifications, and the state said, you've been working in the school system long enough, you have been grandfathered in, you basically, we're just going to let you continue on as if you have your bachelor, your master's, your C's. Basically, I've been grandfathered in. I have all the responsibilities of everybody else with the C's. I just don't have the education. But at that point, I was already where I wanted to be. Why would I need to go back and spend that money to get all of that?
And some of these questions I'm probing on now are directly from your school board.
No, I'm glad you're asking.
They were very interested.
And I'm glad these folks are here to answer them.
And I remember you were one of the grandfather folks. Must have been the orange shirt.
This is my 35th year in Lake County Schools.
I remember you from our first
And he does the exact same stuff that we do with the Cs.
Well, and that's why I wanted to make sure, something I heard loud and clear from our initial meetings, that, you're in the same group there. Yes.
I think what we have to consider moving forward too when you're looking at C's people as well, because you are billing Medicaid now in many states with Medicaid. If you are not a C's person, you cannot bill Medicaid. So I think we have to look at that in the pool that we have, in the collective pool, because if you lose those C's people, you won't be able to bill. You won't have the bodies to bill.
Except those of us dinosaurs who decided they didn't permission to do it.
To do it, yeah. Yes.
And the
State of
dinosaurs will
Florida.
go.
State of Florida.
Yeah,
You can bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you
Right.
can bill, but we're saying like that
But every
changed.
year
So
they go
could
through,
change.
um,
So we have to be really cognizant of
Right.
those factors moving forward.
There's,
They go through PPS, and of course, you know, with insurance or Medicaid or Medicare, they look at how to cut reimbursement. So one way they look at reimbursement in other states now is that if you don't have the masters and the Cs, then you can't bill Medicaid, Medicare, or private insurance.
But the good thing is, I think I read some proposed legislation this week that's actually proposing in the opposite direction, in a more proactive direction. So that's good news on some front. But,
For
we
today.
have,
yeah, and like I said,
For today.
proposed legislation.
Yeah.
It's early.
we have 17 contracted therapists. We have 21 direct hire therapists that have their Cs. We have 7 therapists that are either grandfathered in or have a master's but do not have their Cs. And that number will continue to, that 7 will continue to decline because there are no more grandfathered.
Okay. Sorry, I'm gonna take those updated numbers because they're a little different than what I had.
And they will change.
Yeah. Okay.
But and we have to look at our student population. We're getting more and more who need this speech therapy so we're having a bigger need. So we don't want to limit the people. We want to encourage people to come here and be speech therapists, teachers, and so we don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, like I said, I have no problems with taking things back and discussing and pulling on it. And I expressed any of the concerns I had momentarily. So,
Do you have any other questions?
no, I think I'm pretty clear on most of the aspects of it.
Because they'll be glad to educate you in every
I understand a lot more now than when I was a speech student in 2nd grade. I couldn't say my awes.
You do very well now.
Thanks to the speech therapist, right?
Absolutely. And if I catch you on the side one day, I'll tell you a good joke about it at my expense. All right, well, we'll revisit on that. Like I've said, you know, before, our goal is not to hold out and make people wait for anything.
Perfect.
So I can't give you a date to shoot at. What I was aiming at, if we got out of here today, was maybe before spring break. My payroll people were probably going to kill me, but I'm not sure. Even today would have been really. I definitely wouldn't survive beyond the day, so it might be a little beyond there, but I'm not going to intentionally delay anything. So I'll get back to you on this as soon as I can and come back together when I have some.
All right, can we take about a 3-minute break then?
Sure.
Thank you.
Moving on from the SLP topic, you know, insurance, I was going to touch on that and just for folks that have not sat on our committee, basically the good news was that we see some openings for improvement in our pharmacy area, and we'll see what that amounts to when it's all said and done. I haven't had an update. I hadn't talked to Lauren, they were vetting some references on a vendor that would settle with. But it definitely looks like it's going to be a significant improvement in the area of pharmacy, which, all you got to do is turn on the news and see, see what they're doing with pharmacy, trying to hold their feet to the fire. Outside of that, we talked about, a lack of a fund balance that has been the reputation of way to do a business here in the district. When you have a fund balance for the insurance fund, and when you have to respond to the auditor on why you don't have a balance in your fund balance for your insurance, it's because you can state to them that you have enough in your district fund balance to cover that if there's ever a catastrophic claim year. And now we've reached that point, as we all know last year, where we're running close at that 3% line, and we can no longer make that claim. I don't feel like, honestly, and Scott Ward, CFO, is concerned with that, and I think everybody in the committee meeting was pretty concerned with it, and so that's a need we'll have to look at and address. I think hopefully through plan design, we can minimize the impact, and we'll have to bargain that impact once we see what it is, and we all know that. So I look forward to us working together to keep the pain and suffering of the insurance woes off of our group members. Also, I think workshop will be pretty interesting when Care Here comes this week. So that Monday will be an interesting. Care Here's coming to the workshop, and Dave's coming to our committee meeting. So
I know I have some questions for him.
well, and I'm curious of how whether their presentation changed after our last committee meeting. So we'll see. So I mean, the goal of Corrier and our new CFO and the board, we're going to hold everybody to task and make sure that we're getting the proper deals. I think we get a lot of support from some areas, but we want to make sure we're being taken care of on that front also. So a lot going on in insurance, and if the March 6th insurance committee meeting, if that yields some recommended change that the committee agrees on, as far as plan design or something of that nature, that clock would start, and you're looking at with spring break packed in, believe it or not, when the 10-day clock runs, we're looking at Wednesday, March 27th is.
So what are you looking at in plan design?
As far as plan design, basically means that you're either going, your plan has a certain level of richness, and either you can either premiums rise to maintain that richness when trend kicks in, which is the amount and the percentage that an actuary would recommend for things to rise, or you can adjust your plan in areas that would reduce the richness of the benefits, which has an impact on the employees, and that's why we'll wind up back in this room on how we manage that, because a lot of times you have both. So I don't know, I haven't heard from the recommendations yet. To be honest with you, I'm looking forward to the 6th to hear what they bring back. And I'll tell you the good thing about it, I guess, if you got to find some silver lining, there's probably some areas in our plans that these plans haven't been addressed in a while. So sometimes that makes you very
Well, they have, but they've gone up.
Well, as far as the design of the plan benefits, I think, and when you don't change you don't want to change your plans every year, but when you don't adjust your plans according to how different types of claims evolve through the years and the health of your group, and you all of a sudden you can be in a difficult financial situation with your insurance fund. And we're looking at every year, there was a lot of things that did not benefit us from being so late in the game. Because believe it or not, everybody's like, oh, well, we're basically, we feel imposed upon that these increases in insurance were occurring. But what was really happening in the background also was there was a shortfall to the tune of, $2 million, anywhere from $2 to $4 million year in, year out, that the district was picking up the tab on straight on to make the insurance account whole. So, and we can't, we all know we can't afford to do that. So it's so that those are the things that we've got to address and discuss, and then the impact will come back to this room.
This is not as funny as it sounds. There's a purpose to it, and I've done it before. I've never been to, I'm not on the insurance committee, and I'm fine with that. Is there anybody on the committee younger than 30?
Yeah.
We have that?
Yep.
Good, okay, because a couple of years ago,
Right
right at 30, okay, well, I'll tell you why.
Right.
A couple of years ago, we had a couple of things float up from some of our younger teachers about the lack of birth control options, et cetera, and we addressed that immediately, which was wonderful. I'm getting some feedback now from the birthers. I've got a whole bunch of, it happens in my department, I have a bunch of people having babies, and they've been bemoaning the coverage. Now, I have not done any research or anything like that, but I bring it up to the committee as in when, what I heard you say is, looking, it hasn't been looked at in a while. If I might put a bug in your two respective ears to do a little work there, and if you need me to help, I will. What is the market versus what we're offering? Because, you hear a lot around the lunch table about how, we're going to have to be cutting back this and cutting back that, and I didn't expect this on it. And we've had 3 babies and 1 more coming in my department alone.
So you get to hear a lot of it.
Oh, yeah. Something in the water. It's something about social studies and history.
So they didn't take advantage of the birth control.
I'm sorry, what?
So they didn't take advantage of the birth control.
No, that was a whole different group.
Yeah, that's future FT.
Yeah.
I'll reach out to Josh and Gallagher and share that sentiment so he can kind of put that bug in his ear and think about that. And those are ideas we're trying to keep things in mind. So and part of the pharmacy thing is that's a big disruption in available medicines, the things they're looking at. And, so we'll see how it goes. I'm really, really interested just to see what the outcome is with that. The next thing bullet I had was compensation, and we've got different priorities. I know you guys established some priorities last full session that have not been forgotten. So I think as we look at I spent the last time in between and prior to that looking, how are different ways that statutes are being interpreted. And so I just want to tell you when the compensation comes, when we come to talk about that, exploring some ideas of defining statute a little bit differently as far as what you determine as an adjustment, whether an adjustment is defined as a dollar amount or as a percentage. So if that means anything to you, that's kind of where I'm exploring. You know me, we'll keep it legal, but we're also we want to do what's one of the benefits of our new CFO is he's seen a lot. He's been an auditor. He has a lot of deep contacts, so we can explore a little easier on what other folks are doing and have been able to do. So the other issue, compensation-wise, I feel like it's going to be interwoven, and we're going to need help from LCEA as a whole, maybe not as a bargaining unit, but as a team member. And we're going to have to address. We've got schools that are staffing critical. It's going to be extremely critical coming in the next school year, and coming up with certain ways that we can incentivize to get some of our most skilled teachers to those positions that are in these difficult to staff schools. What's that?
Kind of like the old lift program.
I don't see it, and I thought about that too, but I'm not sure that's exactly what the lift was.
But that was the intent of lift when it was developed.
I think there might have been a portion, but it seems like from an outsider coming in and not being here for the formation of it,
And
I got it as a leadership pipeline.
I was there in the formation,
Yeah.
and there were folks who saw it as being a pipeline to administration, and I argued against that, and that's why a teacher highly effective, 3 years was a $3,000 to keep them in Title I schools. Because, and that was a battle I had with the county administration, because they saw it as a pipeline to be an administrator. The teachers did not. So, yeah, but that was part of the original intent of that.
Well, and so.
I guess I have the institutional knowledge.
Well, and you do, and that's what I'm saying, it's gonna be it's gonna take a team effort to get there, and it's things like programs that Ben's touched on in the past with,
Dual tapping.
Yeah, and it's, a teacher leader is not the same as you know what I mean? And so, we're gonna need your assistance, and there's gonna have to be obviously dedicated incentives to that direction. So, if you guys can be thinking about that. And we all know, we're at the will of our legislature. Session closes May 3rd, I think is what's on the calendar.
And it opens March 5th.
Yeah, so.
So wear red on March 3rd, 4th.
March 4th?
March 4th, wear red.
Y'all heading to Tallahassee?
No, but we have people who are doing statewide events. The letter to the editor that Frank Wood kind of started off our local effort. So
Okay.
there might be some things going on in your schools too.
There's new administration at FEA. All we can do is hope that they are more confident than the previous, or more focused than the previous administration at FEA.
And I think.
And they are since.
You get the swirl, and you know what I mean, I get it. Everything's been fight, swirl, swirl, swirl. So I think sometimes the new administration and you guys' organization with a new direction, I think that could be a good thing. So I hope that works for y'all.
We'll let you know.
We'll let you know.
I know, I get it. I think if we can be realistic and unions can be realistic, and God forbid we bring back the notion of compromise, hopefully that's the notion that the legislature can come with too. Because if we can get people on both sides understanding that they're all our kids and we better take care of them in a responsible way, hopefully they'll show it in the budget. We all want to be optimistic, and we'll see what happens. It's a very, I will say my initial feeling is it's an unpredictable administration that's in now. Yeah, very unpredictable.
Those are politically correct words, thank you.
Who knows, I guess, where it can go. Last thing.
If I can take 30 seconds and address Ben, the FEA has started a Republican cadre to FEA or LCEA, FEA members who are strong Republicans to go and work with the legislature, so there's not that combative.
That'll be interesting. That's one of my biggest frustrations. You can talk to our own group, okay, and teachers, and education is at the top of their priority when it comes to voting. It just boggles your mind. It's a different world than I come from.
It's just the world's been separated into red and blue, and that's like, we're all educators, whether if you work in a school or for a district, to me, you're an educator. As far as reopeners and language, I know nobody's probably ready to present any reopeners. I'm sure we'll be thinking about what makes sense, and I just love student-centered. That's the mindset.
That's where that's got to be our mantra.
Yes, sir. So, All that being said, I think we might want to hold off on committing our next date until we see what the insurance thing goes. If you kind of have in your mind that if, out of that committee, that if the 27th could be a possibility of a recommendation comes out of that March 6th insurance committee meeting. And okay. And it would likely be feasible that I can come back with some feedback on SLPs at that time also. Okay. Does anybody have anything else?
Just one brief,
Okay.
I don't know whether it's a positive or negative, but I've been re-elected for 2 more years.
Congratulations on that, sir. For that, I would assume that's unopposed.
Unopposed.
I didn't see you out campaigning.
Unopposed.
All right, well, I think consistency is key within the district. So look forward to continuing to work with you.
I take some responsibility for this under discussion of goals and timeline. I do want to try to get the supplement into the discussions again.
Okay.
Again, I'm fully aware that we're just taking the same pile of money and chopping it, whatever, but again, those people are out. Well, last time I did the math, Dave caught me because he knows. So I just want to figure out something to kind of say, it's been 12 years or 10 years. I don't even know what the fact is anymore. 10 years, give or take?
It's at least been that.
Yeah, and, what they contribute just boggles my mind sometimes.
Yeah, I've coached, you know what I mean? And I've done things not coaching, FBLA and things like that. And, yeah, I don't know. And I think that I had that as a bullet listed down there, but I was like, all right, well, that doesn't, I know it's going to be a topic, and I know we're going to discuss it. So I think if you guys can help me align where the priorities are in those, that's going to be very helpful. Because as I explore, some spots are competitive, some of them aren't, and then some are just ultra low, and the superintendent expressed that to me numerous times. So, we'll be looking to see what we can do there. We just got to establish some common priorities.
Cool.
All right.
All right, thank you very
guys.
much.